Hello, everybody. It's Thursday. Welcome in. Who's ready for today's story? We're going to whip around the world of AI, talk about the crazy disruption and almost like extinction level events are happening all at the same time, as well as some really exciting breaking news and some not so good news and some good longevity news as well. Thank you, D&D Tesla, Sean D, K8, everybody for being here. Let's get into this story. This is called Elon's Final Blow. And yeah, things are beginning to break out there all across the board at once. And disclaimer, not financial advice, not that it matters. And a big shout out as well to Adam on Patreon. You're a legend. I recently acquired Patreon and IDSS. Thank you so much. Hope you enjoy your better trading results. That's the key. Again, the asteroid's coming, and this is a playlist. AI impact. AI is the biggest story to ever hit civilization in the history of the world. But let's get into robot and bots news. Robot taxi and bot news first. And yesterday was a big video too. Very well received, by the way. All dovetails into this very nicely. But a little bit of breaking news. This is funny because this is from a crypto magazine, Decrypt. Like literally everybody's pivoting to AI now all of a sudden. Crypto magazines are writing AI and robotics articles about Elon Musk. Who would have thought? Anyhow, this one is how Elon predicts AI will reshape everything as early as this year, and AI will surpass human intelligence this year. He also said it in Switzerland this morning too, and he believes this will exceed humanity collectively. We all know that. It's already, you could argue, is here. The singularity is here, I would argue. But he also said pairing advanced AI with humanoid robots could remove labor as a limit on economic output. That is another big statement right there. The question is, how good will these robots become? How dexterous will their hands be? We know their brains will be incredible, but it's the hands and the longevity that really matter. We'll get to longevity later too. Another breaking news too, I tweeted this not too long ago, but Ashok Elaswamy is the head of AI at Tesla. And he just announced, literally an hour ago, that robotaxi rides without any safety monitors are now publicly available in Austin, Texas. And they're basically blending in the cars that run around with no supervision with ones that maybe have a supervisor sitting in the passenger seat. Remember, Austin, Texas always had people in the passenger seat, never anybody in the driver's seat. It's like a massive big pilot test before the cyber taxis come in April. But there's a couple of things that are very interesting to note too. Did I add my chart? I did, yes, it's coming. It was a little bit out of order. But this here is, I tweeted, even as recently as yesterday and this morning, there were naysayers and haters, and there still are, saying it'll never happen. Everybody's saying, no, it's just all pretend. There's always a supervisor. Well, they're not supervisors in the cars anymore, which is incredible. Also, on the tracker, they are adding 8 cars now a day. This thing is going to go hockey stick real fast. It's currently, the fleet is 215, but 3 days ago it was 201. So, and yesterday they added 8 cars. I don't know if they are unsupervised cars altogether, but the point is, it's happening. This is a historic day for Tesla shareholders. Thank you all for having faith. We went through hell and back over the years, especially in the last 12 months with all the EDS and everything else. But anyway, who cares? Haters, actually, they energize me. So bring on the hate. I use it to power myself up and get very excited every day. And look at me. Shout out to Wire Tesla, who put this funny little meme together. Look at me. I'm the captain now. Get used to it. These things are going to be rolling around everywhere. They're already testing the real Cybercab in 13 different cities at the same time, too. And Elon, this morning, a couple of key clips. A lot of it was stuff we knew before anyway. But he said Cybercabs will be widespread in 2026. Literally widespread in North America, USA. You'll see them everywhere. Okay, they've got the technology to ramp these things like scalded hotcakes. By the way, the number of Tesla robotaxis is about 10% of Waymo right now. Waymo have been doing this for 10 years, but differently. differently, not using true AI. Also, other breaking news too, FSD launches in EU and China potentially in the next 30 days, next month. And that is a big piece of news too. So very exciting. Again, risk happens fast, but so does this type of AI impact too. Now, in sad news though, I remember listening to the CEO of Uber coping so hard. You can always see cope on the face. It's hard to hide people who are coping, but this is kind of like almost the last 3 months, I don't know how many months, the last month or so the last month. Uber and Lyft, both following the same trend, and that is down. Today also, both are down. Robotaxi has arrived, which will impact their businesses and the world forever. So it's sad to see, but you can't say you weren't warned. Anyway, let's get into AI and LLMs, some other big news here. And this is also part of the theme is kind of how things are being disrupted. And the things that are being disrupted aren't what you would expect. They're a little bit different. They're happening actually at the big enterprise level. First of all, I've been saying this for a long time now, that this company is in trouble. Not the only one. People like Brad Gerstner and others pegged it as well. But you can tell also just by looking, there's just, a lot of weird juju going on. But now this guy, Sam Altman, is begging for cash. He needs, and his next OpenAI round of $50 billion, he needs to raise $50 billion at a $750 to $830 billion valuation. And he's going to the Middle East because, you know what? The West is not giving him any money. But the Middle East, they fund things like Lucid. Makes no sense. But anyway, if there's any Middle Eastern investors watching, do not invest in this. You're just throwing your money away. And that's financial advice right there from a guy on YouTube. And let's check out the reason why. This is the amount of burn. Yeah, they might do say 10 billion in revenue, 12 billion in revenue, whatever. But when they're burning, 15 billion, 20 billion or more and accelerating to 50 billion by 2027, 2028, their burn is going to far outpace revenue. And remember, that's revenue, but the green one here is the amount that they've raised from funding and then cash burn. Cash burn eclipses everything else. And the core issue is fundraising. Is it going to outrun the losses? The answer is no. Are they going to be able to make a sustainable business? No. In fact, Rivian burns a ton of money. One of the record burners in the history of the world. These guys put them to shame. You'll see. And CNBS is talking about how the OpenAI chair, Brett Taylor, says AI is probably a bubble, expects a correction in the coming years. This is the chair of OpenAI. And the board of OpenAI are allegedly feuding a little bit with Sam Altman. So it's just a very, very prickly potato. Either way, something's going to break. And OpenAI losses are impossible to hide. This is from Grums. George Noble, billion-dollar hedge fund founder and Fidelity Overseas, says OpenAI is about to fall apart. They lost $12 billion in a single quarter. Traffic is falling, second month in a row. Salesforce ditching ChatGPT for Google's Gemini. And top leadership and devs are quitting. And then there's Elon Musk's $134 billion lawsuit. And they need $143 billion before it's unprofitable. And that's why they're handing the hat out, or hat in hand, or cap in hand, whatever they call it, in the Middle East. Give them money. No, they're not. Please, Middle Eastern people, don't be stupid. Don't be stupid. Don't be. Anyway, let Lucid be your lesson. Now, in other news terms, it gets worse for OpenAI. But it's nice when a plan comes together. And I said for years, I wish I could have shorted this thing. But there will come a day where we're going to be able to perp short, maybe pre-IPO stocks, private stocks. Hopefully. That would be fun. It's always fun to play both sides. But last week I mentioned OpenAI was planning to advertise to shore up their huge holes of $12 billion a quarter. Now OpenAI plans to take a cut of customers' AI-aided discoveries. hold on a second. imagine coming up with, say, a cure for cancer using AI, using ChatGPT. And then ChatGPT say, oh, nice work there, but you did it using our tools. Therefore, we're taking it. It's going to be our IP. I mean, who the hell would trust this platform after this? That is stunning. And Brad pegged it. Shout out to Brad Gerstner. He said, OpenAI is falling apart in real time. I've watched companies implode for decades. This one has all the warning signs. OpenAI declared code red, blah, 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 back in December. And he said Gemini is eating their lunch, etc. Not just Gemini. XAI Grok is eating their lunch. Gemini is eating their lunch. Anthropic is eating their lunch. Everybody's feasting on the same pie all at the same time. And I'll leave this here and let you draw your own conclusions. But just in case, ever in life, and I've always said this, never invest in a... Read the slide itself. Again, I don't know how this slide popped in here, but I'll just leave it here. And you can see all the signs as clear as day. Everybody. Important for investing. Now, circular financing. This has been floating around as well for a while, of how OpenAI spends $3 or $4 to make $1, and it's just never going to float. And the question is, will it catch up? Yes, it will. And it's okay for those who are actually selling and making money, but eventually there will be a piper to pay, and that will be a big problem. There is a huge gap in costs. There's a huge problem with traffic, and Gemini is growing. Again, Anthropic is growing, etc. Long story. It's all going to end in tears, and this is going to be one of my predictions coming through in 2026. Now, it's not all bad, though. It's just one bad player in the mix, and that's the problem. But one of the things that is happening in Dubai, or United Arab Emirates, they have pushed out a white paper which proposes moving from static rule books, law books, etc., to a flexible AI-driven ecosystem that adapts in real time for tech and business changes for regulation. Tools like a unified regulatory digital something twin for monitoring sovereign governance and in-the-loop framework to ensure everything happens fast and easy. I hope, and that's very controversial when I say this, but having, say, an unbiased, truth-seeking AI would make for a better judge, make for a better writer of regulations, etc., than humans that have their biases. So, can't wait for that day, if it happens. And speaking of this was confirmed, I think, 3 days ago. I didn't mention, I've been talking about MacroHeart a lot because it's fascinating, but this former XAI employee did get canned because he leaked how MacroHeart from XAI is building a full human emulator that we can put to work and that will replace what white-collar workers do, etc. And this is not public, and that's why he got into trouble. But basically, jobs are gone, and XAI competitors now know their roadmap, which is a problem. Either way, what's coming from MacroHeart is going to really disrupt software. And that's what we're going to get into next, because this is a second or third casualty at this stage. We'll go through the list. Mag 7 section. First of all, SaaS. We're talking about the death of SaaS. And not only is AI interrupting things like Uber and Lyft and eventually Waymo, etc., but it's also going to interrupt SaaS software through things like MacroHeart. I see the way everything kind of weaves together pretty logically. But here are some stunning numbers. It's the Morgan Stanley SaaS Index. SaaS is software as a service. Think companies like Adobe, etc. Now, a lot of people believe that top AI systems, native AI systems, can replicate much of SaaS functionality. And they can connect directly into proprietary data and operate atop LLMs and fundamentally change the value proposition of traditional software. Again, I've talked about this a few times a year, but now it's really happening. It's really beginning to accelerate this dip. And Satya Nadella, kudos to the CEO of Microsoft. He says the same thing. He's calling an end of software. He basically said software applications are the end of software applications as the value layer. I bring value. He talked about the agentic world and how apps are becoming passive databases, while the AI agents in this agentic world will hold the intelligence, make the decisions, and do all the work. The apps become commodities, while agents become the business. All the SaaS software that's done really well over the last 20 years, 30 years, is about to get completely disrupted as well, which is shocking. Now, back to other shopping news for the enterprise. The enterprise, the people that buy typical SaaS software, they are adopting, and this is an enterprise LLM API chart here, but they are adopting AI hand over fist. But OpenAI here is clearly doomed, going back to the previous theme. They've gone from 50% of enterprise API share to 27%. And Anthropic has gone from 12% to 40%. Google has gone from 7% to 21%. And Meta has dropped off the face of the earth. We don't care about Meta. They'll always be last. Anyway, the problem is what's happening next is crazy. And Grok isn't on this list either, because Grok is also better than OpenAI. Either way, it's tragic what's happening. And part of the reason it's all happening is because you can do so much more in so much less time. This is a chart from ARC Big Ideas. I didn't share it in my video yesterday, but I thought it was very interesting. It talks about the AI consumer operating system, or the velocity of consumer transactions. So if you go back to way back in 1980, anybody here alive in 1980 and way before? Yeah, me and hopefully a lot of people here. But you can see here, back in 1980, say it would take an hour to buy something. And then in the web era, it took about 10 minutes. Mobile era, 3 minutes. And in the agentic era, 60 seconds. So we're now getting a transaction done in 1/60th of the time. And that's going to become even faster, especially when crypto is integrated with these AI agents, where they're going to be able to shop, negotiate, buy, sell, whatever on your behalf. It's going to be huge, and it's happening. It's not a vision of the future. It's already happening today. And you can see the adoption is through the roof, and the leaders are changing. Now, onto the chips. I wrote a Substack about chips. I don't remember when, a few days ago, whatever. But I am fascinated about how Tesla is getting into the silicone business and what it means for all chip makers and Tesla itself, and space and data centers in space, etc. But Tesla is, of course, have been designing their own AI chips for quite some time. AI 3, AI 4, and AI 5 will be finished in a month or so. And they're beginning to test the equipment to make it in March. We're talking 2 months away. And they're doing it in 2 factories at once. They're doing it using Samsung and TSMC. So they can produce huge number of chips faster, cheaper, and quicker than anybody ever before. And they want to reiterate on these chips every 9 months, which is massive. And they design them in-house, update them very quickly, and they avoid reliance on one supplier now, having Samsung and TSMC do it both. And this could give them a huge edge in the whole space. It's funny because some people still compare Tesla to a car company. Do you know any car companies on the planet that make their own silicon? But the other thing is, Elon Musk is walking the lines, and he's finding new ways to create wafers, chips, etc. quicker than ever before, which is part of what my whole paper was about. And I call this 13th line. Could it be an NVIDIA killer? Well, if Elon Musk is right, and if they can get AI 5, AI 6, AI 7, AI 8 out, and if they can scale them rapidly, and if they can create their own terafab, we'll see. It will be a very, very capable chip, better than NVIDIA Hopper class, and Blackwell as well. Use less energy, and you can use them for multiple purposes. Stick one in a car, stick 2 in a robot, stick a bunch in a data center on a whatever big machine to work as Dojo 3. And Dojo is back. Good to see Dojo back too. So this could really shake things up, and this could add at least, if they can pull it off, at least $1,500 per share to the existing market value of Tesla. Now, quantum, and here we have another bleeding in of the different areas. Everybody's worried about quantum and Bitcoin. It's like, don't worry about that. You're good for 8 years. But kudos to Coinbase for keeping an eye on quantum. They will be building a quantum Computing Advisory Board to keep an eye on what's happening in the quantum world, and maybe to see if any quantum breakthroughs could actually have an impact on things like Bitcoin. So fantastic news there that people are physically investing in the protection of the Bitcoin network. And of course, the Bitcoin protocol can be quantum proofed like anything else. And I'm sure the devs are already working on that. Now let's talk about space before we get into longevity and all the other good stuff. We go around the world real fast. This was another piece from the talk this morning. SpaceX and Tesla teams are both working separately to build 100 gigawatts of manufactured solar power in the US. And they think they can do that in 3 years. Okay. Solar, as I've said, as many other people have said, is a free reactor in the sky. And the US has to find a way to catch up with China. Absolutely critical. That is big news. I don't know what they're working on, but if two companies, Tesla and SpaceX, are doing the same thing in different threads, odds are one of them will crack the code. Maybe together, through synergy, they can do it together. But 100 gigawatts of solar power is massive. And if they can do that without using silver or any of the materials that they need from China, that would be awesome too. Now, IPO coming is going to be a big IPO. In fact, it's going to be the biggest IPO in the history of the world. SpaceX IPO bankers have been chosen. All the banksters, Bank of America, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, and Morgan Stanley will all lead. Now, normally when you do an IPO, one bank will do it, like Goldman Sachs or whatever. But because this is $1.5 trillion worth, the biggest IPO in the history of the world, they need four big monsters to pull it off, which is going to be huge. Space is going to be huge. I would still argue for the next 5 to 7 years, the TAM for Tesla is bigger, but after that, who knows? Who knows what could happen? And space is also getting very big because now Starlink is operational on 2,500 jets. If I ever had to fly, and hopefully I never have to fly again, but if I ever do, I would pick an airline that has Starlink. And that's what people are doing right now. That's why, see all these names: United, British Airways, Lufthansa, Emirates, Qatar, Air France, Hawaiian. By the way, the Middle Eastern airlines were the first to adopt this technology. Now, if you're going transatlantic and you need to work in the air, you can get free high-speed internet. And it's like 300 megabytes per second, which is incredible. So that's happening too. Now, let's get into a new section, longevity and drug discovery. Because also, in the theme of things happening really fast, we have landed. AI drug discovery is here. There's a company called Insilico, and they have AI-powered drug discovery, and they've partnered with a Chinese biotech company to make this stuff. Things like a new oral pill that blocks brain inflammation, that targets Parkinson's disease, and maybe Alzheimer's next. There's probably a lot to this. But the point is, they are working, leveraging AI as quickly as possible to find cures for things that prevent people from living longer or increase quality of life. And we looked up the actual list of things they're working on. It's quite extensive, my friends. Let me see what else. If I can really read this. It's a bit of an eye chart. But they're looking at immune oncology, inflammatory bowel disease, metastatic cancer, solid tumors, immuno-oncology, obesity, CRAS, breast cancer, pain management, a whole bunch of stuff. Check it out yourself. They're going after everything all at once, and we'll see. But again, now we have companies that are using AI exclusively to identify drugs to solve nasty problems that humans have. Great news. And remember as well, in longevity news, this is a piece from Ray Kurzweil. He believes in either 2030 or 2032, we will have the technology to be able to extend life. That is I covered it in, I can't remember, I think it was the next 7 years, how getting to the next 7 years is so important. Next 5 to 7 years, you got to stay healthy, because after that, you'll be able to fix chronic diseases like these ones and make yourself live longer, which would be good. So you can enjoy your Tesla bags and other assets that you're invested in. You can see what Bitcoin price is doing in 2032, etc. Will it get to $1 million? We shall see. But again, the game now you have to play is to stay healthy and watch the events that are going to unfold over the next 5 to 7 years. The most disruptive time and incredible time, and hopefully an abundant time, that we'll ever see in the history of humanity. And finally, shout out to Wired Tesla. He put this cool little meme together today. This is, look at me, I'm the captain now. Tesla robotaxis, get used to those. They're going to come everywhere. Hope you all enjoy the show. Hope you all learned something. I try and share a new piece of knowledge every 60 seconds. That's what I call KPM. Thank you, Martello, Rusted Woods, Zeno, GQ Trader, Cybertruck Crypto, AR Ron, Haliakela, DBF430, and Dog1. Appreciate you all. And of course, Team D and Sean D, K8. Tomorrow's Friday. Friday Fire incoming. We'll catch up with everything that's happening in crypto. Thank you all. Have a good night. Bye-bye.